Does it bother you that Clive still hasn't figured out the nature of what Liv is?
No, I just think he's the most patient and opportunistic guy, because it's also helping him do his job, and kind of regardless of how she does it, she seems to get these pretty good clues. So I think he's definitely tolerant, but for me, I think definitely Liv is grateful that it's somebody who she doesn't have to battle with every time she takes his brains. These people normally would be judging her, but he's really accepting. So.
And I think Clive is just a result orientated person. I always say he has tunnel vision. I'm sure he has a theory behind it. I mean, I think the first season he goes, "Don't be so method." I mean, that was his first time kind of commenting on the multiple personality changes. But I think as long as these crimes are being solved, these murders are being brought to justice, that's all he cares about right now.
Yeah, I've got some pretty weird friends in my own life. I feel like you can kind of let a lot.
Oh, I definitely got some crazy friends with some multiple personalities.
Right?
Yeah. So and that's the only way. That's how he first met Liv in the first place. He doesn't know her as anything other than having these multiple personalities. So he probably just thinks it's multiple personality disorders.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about learning to be the magic tricks?
Oh, that was the most amazing opportunity. It's kind of interesting though. It's like learning that Santa isn't real. Once you start looking into magic and you start learning about like the tricks that they use and how it actually works, in some ways it's a double-edged sword, because it's great that I can do a couple of fairly basic tricks now, but at the same time you start to see behind the curtain a little bit, and that's been interesting, because I was like the person who went to Magic Castle and left like sleepless, just being like, how did they trick me? They kind of keep me enough and pulled out my name, like, what?
And I think we try to get you to teach us one trick, the Jimmy Kimmel trick.
Oh yeah, I'm not teaching you anything. I learned the etiquette, and my magic consultant would not be impressed if I went.
I know, give the secret to it.
Although you can go to YouTube now. It's a bit disappointing.
Don't. I'm doing that right after this, right after all this.
Well, there's that you're going to be singing on Monday's episode. Can you talk a little bit about that and how excited you were to be able to do that?
Yeah, I love singing myself. I've kind of always sung bits and pieces and like a few times for bands or for people's music or whatever, but I haven't done it very seriously or with any diligence. Again, it's just the great thing about this job is being able to kind of pick something up again for a couple of weeks and dabble. And it was cool. It's a little nerve-wracking singing as Liv. I don't know, there's something about the vulnerability of when you're actually singing and then putting on a character, and meshing those two was unusual for me. It's not something I had done, so it was a good opportunity, and they wrote a beautiful song. They did a great job.
There's a big Clive episode coming up that you guys just finished filming. What can you say about what goes on there?
You learn a lot about who he is.
Clive can cook. I'm giving them that. I'm giving them that, because that is, and I'm hoping that that's a real thing. You haven't invited me over for any dinners, but
I can definitely throw that. I can cook in real life. Maybe not as good as Clive, but close enough. But there were so many cool talents that he had that I didn't know. I found out, and it's exciting to learn about. That episode it felt like a love letter to Clive. That's what Raul kept calling it. He goes, "This is a love letter to Clive," and it just brings us, us together. Clive, Liv, and Robbie together more closer.
And I feel like you've done such a good job of, you obviously have your own story of where you're from and what you're about that you've been working with, but you haven't had a chance to voice it in the show, and we've got such a dense plot anyway and a few different characters that we've been really getting to know, so this is like nice that finally it's your chance to be able to express all the stuff that I'm sure.
It's been fun. There's been episodes where it's like, wow, I'm not talking about the case, or I'm not talking about just having a conversation, and that's been really, really exciting, as Clive, and trying to find his voice and just having a day-to-day conversation that has nothing to do with work.
You guys will definitely be surprised.
So it's a lot of surprising things, And
I'm going to tell them the one thing that was supposed to be in there. It was actually supposed to be in next week's episode.
Oh yeah.
And I fought tooth and nail. It's like the only time I went back to the writers being like, you can't lose this. But Rob ultimately said there's just no chance. But when Liv goes to the country music club, initially there had been talk of Clive being already there. And Clive's a line dancer. Yeah. He was going to be just like getting in on the line dance.
I bought a line dancing video game. Like Dance Dance Revolution. There's a line dancing, country dancing. And
he
I'm
did his prep, he did his research.
Listen, I'm ready. I got the game. I'm ready to go. If you decide
Diane
to
was
put
all
that back.
for it, but Rob pulled the plug. So
Yeah.
missed opportunity that time. But you see lots in the later episode. You see plenty.
explain?
Yeah.
Can you explain Clive's insane keyboard at his desk? Why does he have like?
That split keyboard.
Yeah.
No, I can't explain it. I know, yeah, but yeah, I never seen that before.
Yeah.
You know, I would not be comfortable typing on that particular keyboard. But I don't know, maybe.
I think it's ergonomic. I think it's supposed to be like better for your wrists and preventing RSI and stuff. Maybe they should like write that in that he's really ergonomic and he wears like those Skechers shape ups and stuff.
I'm with
anymore.
that. There we go. More detail, more texture. I'm with that.
Both David and Diane talked about Liv teaming up with Blaine to face possibly a new foe. Can you talk about working with Blaine more?
It's such a nice opportunity to work with David Anders. I mean, he's one of my favourite actors that I've worked with, honestly. He's so imaginative and he brings something new every single time. So for me, I think it's amazing that they were able to do it and they've tied it in so cleverly and made it work in a way that Liv just completely needs to. She relies on him. That's her kind of big chance. So it's nice that they have taken care of all of the business and the details and made it so that I get to work in scenes of David Anders. And there's some kind of interesting dynamic. It'll be a lot of fun.
Can you guys talk about how your characters are?
Who's watching a movie in here, by the way?
Music playing.
Oh, Atmos. Sorry, what was that?
Can you guys talk about how your characters are interacting with Major in the upcoming episodes as he's kind of, going through this crisis?
Well, I think Liv is definitely. I mean, we leave season 1 and things were obviously terrible between them, and he's trying to wrap his head around this new version of her, and certainly a huge ask of anybody. But at the same time, even as Rose, I get so tired of defending Liv because she's kind of really had a hard run herself, and when she's having to explain herself to Peyton, she's having to explain herself to Major, to everybody all the time, and actually she's done the best she can, and the writers have definitely made sure that we can still exist in the same worlds. I don't want to give you too many spoilers. I think it's too fun to enjoy how that actually plays out, but we're definitely, I mean, he lives with my colleague and we're very much exes who didn't want to ever separate, so it's not done.